What's up, everybody? Welcome to Narcocop MMA. This is the Lambo Plays podcast, episode 35, and it's none other than UFC 280, the card that we've all been waiting for. Banger of a card, banger of a lineup here for Lambo Plays. I'm expecting a great show here today. And then the other thing I do want to mention that's very important, thank you to all the subs that got me to that 1K. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you to each and every one of you. Going over the chat, it's Mike Z, it's Prince of Mischief, it's Daz. Who else we got here? Luke Golding. Thank you, everyone, man. I really, really appreciate the 1K subs. And we're going to have to pump through this 12-fight card. It's very early tomorrow morning, so I don't want to keep you all up very late. So I will go over and bring in my co-host, Timothy Troiano. What's up, Tim? Are you ready for this UFC 280 card?
What's up, Narco? Yeah, I'm super pumped, man. I'm straight up 6 to midnight here. I cannot wait. This is probably the best card that I can remember. So super excited.
Yeah, man. Great card. Freaking, we have a great lineup here, Tim. So let me bring in my one guest here. It's my brother here, John, from the Club and Sub podcast. What is up, John? How you doing? Are you ready for UFC 280?
Narco, Tim, how you guys doing? Thanks for having me on. I'm excited for it. It's a great card. Unfortunately, I am not going to be at home, so I'll be watching it on my phone, but I am very much looking forward to it.
Well, John, you're going to miss the spaces then, I'm assuming.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You're going to miss the live bets, but you are not going to miss
I'm going to be in a no betting state, too, so fuck me, right?
Boy, that's a double whammy. That's a double whammy.
That's either really good or really bad.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, then. Let me bring in my other guest. It's none other than Brady, DFS by the numbers. What is up, Brady?
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? What's up, chat? Narc, I want to say congrats for 1K subs. Huge milestone. Well-deserved. Only up from here. But yeah, guys, I cannot wait for this card. 12 fights. We did lose the Tahugov fight, which I was looking forward to. But 12 bangers, especially this main card, right?
Yeah, man. I had a lot of violence in that Tahugov fight, and they pulled it on me. They pulled the rug right from under me. So let's go on here. Let's start this banger of a card out with a not so banger of a fight. It's Lena Lansberg versus Karol Hosa. Tim, what do you got here for your Lambo play?
I like Rosa to finish in round 2 or round 3 of the fight. I have a bet on both of them. I'll lean round 3, but both are good odds, 10-1 and 15-1. But yeah, I think she gets her out of there. Rosa's stronger pretty much everywhere. She's physically stronger, way more volume. Lansberg's 40 years old. I bet the panty violence props, so I just found it like there's just no way I can not bet Hosa. I find it like a passion of mine to lose money on violence props by Hosa. So let's lose another one, right? Why not?
All right, violence prop on Hosa, round 2, round 3. John, what do you got here for your Lambo play?
Yeah, I mean, my lean in terms of a Lambo play here, I think, is Hosa by KO. I don't feel as passionately about, like, I do see the angle on the round 2, round 3, obviously. I mean, Hosa has got a hell of a gas tank, and she does a lot of attritional work. But I think for me, the way I lean is KO, just because I mean, Hosa's going to attempt takedowns here, I think, and she's going to get her down pretty easily. The one thing I'll say about Lansberg is, you know, she's had a couple pretty credentialed black belts on top of her and hasn't been subbed. And I don't really rate Hosa's submission game as much as, you know, women like Sarah McMahon or Cyborg or even Aspen Ladd. But we have seen her pounded out on the mat a few times. I'm not confident what round it comes in, but I do think if Hosa gets, you know, 1 to 3 takedowns, she's likely going to get pretty dominant positions and potentially could positionally KO her.
All right. Positional TKO for Karol Hosa. Brady, what do you got?
Yeah, I think the only way I could look at this for like a Lambo play would be that Rosa KO plus 460 on FanDuel. I personally am more so leaning towards the decision side, but That's kind of the one thing that stuck out because Lansberg, like Tim mentioned, she's 40 years old. And, would it shock me if she kind of looked for a way out, looked for the door because she's going to hit a lot. Rosa's volume is no joke. So I think the KO is live just because she's going to hit Lansberg so much. But I personally am leaning the decision, but the decision probably like minus 150. So yeah, I'm more so plus 460 for the KO. I think is worth a little sprinkle there.
All right, another KO prop on Hosa. So we're all on Hosa, and I will jump on the bandwagon with you guys. But I went a little bit different. I went with the Hosa submission plus 800. Honestly, looking at like Lena Landsberg's career and like who she's fought, I do believe like Hosa probably is the best submission grappler she's faced. I know she doesn't really have submissions on her ledger like Carol Hosa, but I think she's pretty good down there. I think she can get takedowns. I mean, she has, in her last, after the loss to Sarah McMahon, she did get in a grappling match and got a choke there. So I don't know. Plus 800, 40 years old, Lena Landsberg. I know she can take her down. I just like the Hosa side in general, so I'm going to take a little stab on the Hosa submission. Moving on, fight number 2. I don't know if this is much of a fight, but it's Muhammad Mokayev versus Malcolm Gordon. And before I kick it off to John, I got to say I like that wolf hat, John. I caught that a little late, but I like it. Go ahead here.
Thank you. Shout out to Wolf Game. It's not like the Lambo is the Lambo Plays, but I actually really do like the goes the distance at plus 240 here. I'm a fan of the over as well. I think if Mokayev decides to strike with him, like he's got pop, certainly has enough pop to put out Malcolm Gordon. But I kind of think the more I look at it, it's like, well, if they have 1 or 2 competitive striking exchanges, he has basically an I win button by just going for takedowns here. Like, why wouldn't he go that route? We've seen him do that. Certainly he could submit Gordon on the ground, but Gordon's a black belt. He got submitted by Albazi, but I'm not sure Mokayev's jiu-jitsu at this stage is better than Albazi's. Like, I can see Gordon staying safe here for 15 minutes on bottom. I expect domination here. And, I mean, a finish from Mokayev wouldn't shock me, but, like, plus 240, I mean, you're talking about 30% implied for something that I think is probably closer to 40 to 50%. Yeah, I like to go the distance.
All right. John, with the anti-violence in the Mokayev-Gordon fight. Brady, I have a feeling you're going to be opposite of anti-violence.
Yeah, I'm pretty opposite here. I mean, if Mokayev does not finish Malcolm Gordon, he should be just ashamed of himself. I mean, the UFC is giving him this matchup to kind of prop him up, build him up here, get him a highlight reel finish. Malcolm Gordon finished in all of his losses. I think Mokayev makes quick work of Gordon. I think it happens in the first round. I think he can knock out Gordon. I don't think Mokayev's like the best striker in the world, but a gust of wind could knock out Malcolm Gordon. They had the first round knockout prop on FanDuel at plus 650. It has been hit a little bit. It's still plus 480, but yeah, I think Mokayev makes a statement, goes in there, and knocks out Malcolm Gordon in the very first round. So plus 480 round 1 knockout.
All right. Plus 480 round 1 knockout. Damn, if this goes to decision, my ass is going to be puckered because I have a lot of money on Mokayev inside the distance. I have a lot of money on fight doesn't start round 3. Man, Gordon's been finished by 5 guys that have a lot less talent, a lot less finishing ability, in my opinion, than Mokayev. And I will say, one of my buddies, Phil, told me that he listened to an interview of Mokayev. And this interview, I guess it scares me a little. But he said, I'm going to constantly take this guy down and show him that he's not really a black belt, that I'm going to sub him. So I don't know how to feel about that because I think he can honestly knock him on his feet. But I also do think he can positionally knock, TKO him because his ground game, his ground strikes are pretty good. So for me, honestly, I'm going to go with Mokayev submission 1 plus 350. So, I mean, yeah, I know Malcolm Gordon's a black belt, but we saw his mistake that he made with Albazi. Yeah, Albazi could be, better than Mokayev at this point. His submission offense might be better, but we don't know that. I just think Mokayev might smash him with punches, and Gordon might just give up his neck or give up something, and Mokayev might go for it in round 1. Tim, what do you have?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I have like 5 violence bets in this fight, so I have to pretty much. I work for free the last 3 days if this fight goes and John wins his bet. So, yeah, I'm with Brady on this. I kind of lean like if Gordon survives them putting on the grease and he doesn't get knocked out from that pre-fight, then I think that it's Mokayev that knocks him out in the first round with the first dynamic shot that he hits him with, because he's pretty dynamic, pretty quick dude. Anything remotely close to the shots that he got on Durden, just send him to the netherworlds. And I think that's what happens. So not to add anything more. I do have a bet at plus 260 on just the KO alone. I have the under 1.5. But I think KO 1, like Brady said, I think that's the most likely way to go.
All right. We're all on violence except John, the anti-violence man here. Going over to fight number 3, it is Arman Petrosyan versus AJ Dobson. Brady, we'll kick this one off to you.
Yeah, I know a pretty popular play this week is that Dobson round 1 KO. It was plus 650, which is intriguing, but FanDuel actually improved that to plus 750 now. So I'm going to go with that. I think that's his win condition. The guy goes after it early in that first round. I don't think he's going to wrestle. Of course, when you're looking at Arman Petrosyan, you're going to want look at somebody that does wrestle. I mean, I just have not seen that from AJ Dobson. If he does that, can he keep it up for 15 minutes? I don't really think so. I think his path to victory is to go in there and knock out Petrosyan, which Petrosyan has been knocked out before and in the first round. So I didn't mind it at plus 650, but now it's sitting there at plus 750. And that's probably the thing that sticks out the most in this fight for me.
All right. He is on the Dobson round 1 KO. I like the opposite side. I mean, there was a little bit of a worry after Dobson said that, he was fighting for 4 years with a torn meniscus. He gritted it out through all those fights. Dana White's Contender Series against Malkoun. He kind of mentioned that that's one of the reasons why he hasn't wrestled in a lot of those fights, because he couldn't push off that leg much. And, it's pretty weak, obviously, from meniscus tear. So he said he's going to show a different game, which probably means he's going to try to wrestle. But I still question this guy's gas tank, man. His gas tank does not look good. Arman Petrosyan, monster step down, in my opinion. Look at this last 2. Like, they honestly fed this guy to the wolves. I mean, Gregory Rodriguez and Caio Bahayo in your first 2 fights in the UFC. Here you go, Arman. These are 2 guys that, you can easily beat. I mean, yeah, he beat Rodriguez with an asterisk because I think it was a really close fight. I thought Rodriguez won. But, man, those guys are levels above AJ Dobson. Such a huge step down for him. For me, I'm going to go with Petrosyan round 3 plus 1,000. I just think Dobson gas is bad, man. And if Malkoun had any fucking finishing ability, he would have finished this guy in round 3. But we know Malkoun can't finish anything. So give me Arman Petrosyan round 3 plus 1,000. Tim, what do you have?
Yeah, I'm on the Arman side as well. I think round 2, round 3, Arman is kind of been a historical good way to bet, minus the last 2 fights. The last 2 fights, it's kind of like the archetype of his fights have always been kind of similar. Like that he just gets people try to take him down. They get exhausted trying to take him down. And then he fucks him up with a kick or something like that, or he catches him with something. And I think that the last 2 fights, like you're saying, I mean, it's murderer's row. Like it's just, dude, that RoboCop fight, we actually hit a Lambo on that one. It was split decisions on both sides, and it was like crazy number. So happy that it was Petrosyan because he had the higher line. But I agree. I think RoboCop won the fight, but it's still a great look. I mean, I think what's the line with RoboCop versus Dobson? I mean, like it's not, it's ridiculous. So yeah, I think Arman gets him out round 2, round 3. You can go like Narco said, 10-1. Round 2 is 550. If you wanted to combine it on FanDuel, round 2, round 3 is plus 320. Those are all really good to me.
All right. John, anything?
Yeah, I like two spots here. I bet the Dobson money line. And in terms of like props, the one that Brady touched on, I wouldn't say round one. I mean, I prefer just the regular round one because FanDuel also adjusted that now out to plus 650. You can get that at, and obviously, I don't think Dobson's drawing dead on a decision, but I would say round one likely covers a large portion of his win equity in this fight. So plus 650, I'm going to take it. The other thing I think is pretty interesting here. FanDuel's got Dobson by submission plus 2,000, which I think is crazy. I think there's a consensus opinion with Petrosyan that he's got good defensive jiu-jitsu because he hasn't been subbed. But if you look at it, Bahayo wasn't really chasing submissions that hard when he was grappling him. And the one sub RoboCop did chase was that Suloev stretch, it's just not a submission you're going to get very often in MMA. Do I expect Dobson to submit him? Obviously not, but I think Dobson landing 2 to 3 takedowns is in play here. And let's be honest, he's got submissions on his record, and Petrosyan gives up his back quicker than a hooker. Like at some point, like that dynamic in and of itself, is it kind of makes it hard to be plus 2,000. Like I'm not saying go a unit or anything like that, but I think it's worth a small poke. But I do like Dobson round one. I think the early portion of this fight can be pretty dicey for Petrosyan.
Yeah, I kind of agree. He's dangerous round one. He's a big dude. He's strong.
Great athlete.
He works out with Coleman, and he's a power lifter. I mean, you watch some of his Instagram, like this guy's a power lifter. Holy fuck. Some of the shit that he does for strength and conditioning.
Sub one is 43 to 1.
What?
Kendall?
Dude, he could club and sub. I'm pretty confident he does club and sub at a higher clip than 43 to 1, to be honest with you. That's pretty wild.
All right, moving on. Fight number 4, it's Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov versus Gadzhiev. And I think I said those pretty right. I mean, that was pretty tough there.
On point.
I will take the unpopular opinion here because I know a lot of people are on Abu Bakr. I'm taking Gadzhiev, man, inside the distance here, plus 440. I was worried a little bit about his cut to 170 because this is his first time in his professional career. But he was fine. He looked fine. Abu Bakr has been finished, I believe, in all of his losses. Gadzhiev is honestly a finisher, man. Like, yeah, I know he's been to this decision once, but fuck, man, or twice. This guy goes for it, man, and he throws haymakers. When he gets you on the ground, he's going for submissions. He's always going for the finish. So I just feel like I wanted to take the money line here, but I'm a little scared. So I'm going to go with the inside the distance here. It's plus 440 on FanDuel. I think Gadzhiev gets it done, man. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that the fight goes to decision, and I wouldn't I don't trust either one of these fighters at all, at all. So I just think that, I think Abu Bakr probably wins a decision, but it just could be greasy as hell and splits like galore written all over it, in my opinion. So fight ends in split is plus 450. I don't mind that. If you want to take a shot on either guy, you're going to get better odds on Gadzhiev there. So I could see it honestly for either one. I could see either one having really good position. Here's what I will be confident in. Whoever's winning the fight is going to lose the fight. Like they're going to fuck it up in some way, and you'll be like, oh, I can't believe this. So yeah, I just think ends in split is a pretty good look here.
All right. The famous ends in split for Timothy Troiano. John, what do you got?
Yeah, I think from a skill perspective, obviously, Nurmagomedov is likely the better fighter. I think he's likely the better wrestler, likely the better boxer. But I don't know if it's just skill or if it's just he doesn't deal well with adversity. I don't really like a lot of what I see from Abu Bakr when he isn't having the fight that he likes, to be honest. His defense starts to get sketchy when guys go at him. His submission grappling seems very basic. David Zawada triangling you is a pretty brutal look. So while I think the money line is probably fine, I actually do like, the Gadzhiev ITD props. I like the plus 440. I'd probably split it like, I don't know, 0.25 units on the ITD and then maybe a quarter or 0.12 units on sub, like plus 800. Because Gadzhiev's, his general, when he default on bottom is to try to attack a submission like a leg lock or something to change position. Well, that's not a reliable thing. Getting triangled and guard isn't really a reliable thing either, and we just saw that happen 2 fights ago. So, yeah, I like shots at Gadzhiev to finish the fight, to be honest.
All right. Gadzhiev ITD for John and maybe a sprinkle of sub. Brady, tiebreaker?
No, I'm with John and you, Narco, on this one. But where'd you get the inside the distance at plus? Is that on FanDuel plus 440?
FanDuel was plus 440. Let me look at it now.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Abu Bakr, you just can't trust the guy. Like John, getting submitted by David Zawada, terrible look. We've seen this guy hurt, club and subbed. And Gadzhiev's dangerous. Gadzhiev's a finisher. Nurmagomedov has been finishing all of his losses. The dude's notorious for dropping the ball. That plus 440, it makes no sense. I don't really want to bet on this fight, but that's sticking out a lot. That line's wild.
It's still there. I've just looked at it. It's plus 440. The thing, like John mentioned, something very important is when the fight's not going his way, or when he actually gets pressured, he fucking falls apart, dude. And Gadzhiev's gonna fucking do that. Like, that's how he fights. Don't look at the Kayo fight, because Kayo just took him down and stuff, out grappled him. But Abu Bakr usually likes to strike, and Gadzhiev's like a madman, honestly. We'll see.
To be honest, Abu Bakr, just putting it out there, really in general throughout his career has not done very well with any kind of steps up in competition. Obviously, he's fought a better level of competition than Gadzhiev, but just from a macro standpoint, his best win of his career is Jared Gooden. L's to Pavel Kush and David Zawada, draw with Bojan Velichkovic. After that, it's John Howard is his best win. I don't mean to wiki cap it, but the reality is I think he gets treated because of the Nurmagomedov name as being better than he is, if we're being honest.
And you know what's weird? You look at this guy early in his career, and he's got all finishes, right? And then the minute the competition steps up, he can't finish anybody. I think he maybe has one finish, and he's been finished himself twice. So, I don't know, man. I don't trust this guy. Somebody mentioned that supposedly, I don't remember. It might have been Ozzy. I can't remember. But this might be his last fight. You just want to give him one last fight. I don't remember who it was. I don't want to say it was Ozzy, but it was somebody that mentioned that. But let's move on. Fight number 5, Volkan Ozdemir versus Nikita Krylov. Tim, what do you got here?
I like Krylov by KO 1 plus 700 on FanDuel. I just think that he brings the violence, and he's really front loaded, and I think that he's got advantages everywhere. I think if he wants to grapple, he could get him on top. I don't think it'll be easy. I think he just is going to rush and just try to be really explosive like he did against Gustafsson. I can kind of see the same fight happening. I think there's been some regression on Volkan. Craig was hitting him, which is hilarious. But yeah, I think KO 1 is a good look for Krylov. Or even just round 1 is plus 250. But yeah, whatever. That's not good enough. So KO 1 plus 700.
You can get 850 on FanDuel just in case.
Oh, is it?
Wants to play it.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
850 on FanDuel if anybody wants it. John.
Yeah, I've always been a Volkan guy historically, but I kind of think the wheels are starting to come off the truck a little bit here. I had 4 units on him against Craig, and I don't think I've ever had a sweatier 30-27 win on a 4-unit bet in my life. Literally had my balls in my throat for the entire fight. Like Tim just said, he looked visibly wobbled a couple times by Craig on shots that didn't seem very hard. With that said, I think the ITD on Krylov is the market's pricing it fairly appropriately. What I think is interesting, though, Volkan's kind of cultivated a reputation as a good defensive grappler because he's defended takedowns pretty well. And I do think he defends takedowns pretty well. But the couple times he's ended up on bottom in his career, it's looked really, really ugly. Obviously the DC fight was ages ago, and that's DC, but DC cut through his guard. We saw Anthony Smith absolutely shred him when he got on top as well, though. And I mean, I think Krylov, it's kind of weird because he kind of came into MMA being known as a like Taekwondo type guy, but I actually think he's a very, very good grappler. This is a guy we saw scramble pretty effectively with Glover Teixeira not too long ago. I think he's going to get takedowns if he chases him at some point, and I think if he does, he's going to have opportunities to finish the fight on the mat there. I kind of think if you're looking for a Lambo play here, Poca in the submission plus 350 is not bad.
All right. Krylov's plus 350. Brady's shaking his head, I believe. Is that what you have, Brady?
No, I mean, we all agree on the side. I think we all agree that, Volkan, I mean, like you said, John, I had a bet on Volkan. I had 4 units on him, but man, that was the worst experience of my life. I mean, that fight felt like it was like an hour long against Craig. And like you said, Tim, Craig having success at times against Volkan on the feet, it was just such a bad look. And Volkan hasn't looked that great as of late. I mean, if he shows up to this fight like he did against Craig, I think Krylov kind of runs right through him in the first round. I guess where we're going to disagree slightly, I think inside the distance is the best look, but that's obviously not a Lambo play. I'm just going to go with the KO. Krylov has 4 KOs in the UFC. He also has 4 submissions. It's sitting at plus 420. I think the subs live as well. Volkan's been submitted twice. He's been knocked out twice. I'm just going to go with the bigger odds here on the knockout. I think it could be either or, but I like that plus 420. And I think it happens in the first round as well. So I'm kind of more so with Tim, but I think we all can agree that Krylov probably does get this done early.
All right. Krylov by KO plus 420. I'm right there with you. I have that down. I've played that. I'm on the Krylov side. I mean, you guys all mentioned it. Like, I don't want to go over everything, but Ozdemir just, after that Yuri Prochazka, when he was doing fine in round 1, after he got knocked out there against Ankalaev, he went to decision, but he looked like absolute dog shit. Then he fights, Paul Craig, and there's times where Paul Craig is outstriking him and even kind of hurt him. Paul Craig, for Christ's sake, guy doesn't even know how to strike, to be honest. And now you're facing a guy in Krylov who, honestly, at face-offs looked bigger, he looked really good against, call Gustafsson whatever you want, but his striking looked really good against Gustafsson. And outside of the Paul Craig, like, he was absolutely destroying Paul Craig. And then he gets caught the one thing I will say with Krylov, fight IQ is a huge, red flag with this guy. But, some people are saying, oh, it's cardio, but come on, the guy went 3 rounds against Ankalaev and it was pretty competitive, man. It was 29-28. Went to a split against Glover Teixeira where some people thought he won that fight. I mean, everybody's like, yeah, round 1 or bust, and I don't agree with that, man. Like, what's Ozdemir? Does he see some cardio machine all of a sudden? Like, this guy is, like, great in the 3rd round? I don't think so. Like, Krylov can go in multiple ways. I'm going to go with KO. I think he's going to knock this guy out. It is, ever since that knockout from Yuri, this guy just doesn't look the same to me. So I'm going to go with that, plus 420, and we will move on. Fight number 6, it is Makhmed Muradov versus Caio Bahayo. John takes a swig, and now he's going to give us his Lambo play.
I am. Yeah, I mean, the obvious one here, but I'm going to say it anyway, is Bahayo by submission. And I think that's, I mean, if I'm reading this right now, there's books that have it as high as plus 450, which I think a lot of excuses have been made for Muradov looking bad on the mat against Gerald Meerschaert. He was tired. But the truth of the matter is, we see guys gassed out all the time who are good submission grapplers and not get subbed. Like, he just lacked the basics. Didn't know how to stop a pass, gave up position way too easily. I just kind of think it's possible the line is wide, though I actually think Bahayo could be wider personally. but I know a lot of people like the Muradov side. But I do think at some point, if you think this fight's going to get extended, I think it's very likely Bahayo is going to get multiple takedowns here. And I think if you think it's likely Kaio is going to get multiple takedowns, it's very likely that he's going to get to a dominant position here. And Kaio doesn't strike me really as a ground and pounder. So while I normally prefer the ITD, I think he'll be far more likely to chase subs here. And I kind of think with the pace he brings, grappling, they're going to get easier and easier as the time goes, given Muradov's gas tank. So I like the Bahayo submission.
All right. Caio Bahayo, my guy, by submission. Brady, what do you got?
Yeah, I'd be shocked if we all didn't have the same thing here. It's that submission, man. I mean, it just seems too good to be true. I don't know what I'm waiting for. Like, it just makes way too much sense. Like, if Kaio's going to have success, and the odds indicate he's going to, he's minus 230 on FanDuel. If he's going to have success, that means he's going to be getting takedowns. And if he's getting takedowns, Muradov's submission defense is not there. The guy's been submitted a ton. So it almost makes too much sense. Like, this line is why, like, the submission prop opened up a plus 550, and yeah, I still see it there plus 450 on Bet Rivers. So yeah, I'm going with the sub. It's a very popular play, but rightfully so. It just makes way too much sense.
All right, Caio Bahayo sub as well. I mean, I'm on the same play. I mean, it's plus 450. You can get it on Bet Rivers and Caesar still, but on FanDuel, it was plus 550. Man, it got nuked. But it was plus 550 on FanDuel. And when you watch Muradov, I mean, the ground some people are saying it, the ground is like lava to this guy. Once he gets down there, I mean, Gerald Mearshart, I mean, I know he was tired, but like, he got subbed. He's been subbed multiple times early on in his career as well. And Caio Bahayo is going to be the best submission grappler he has faced. I mean, GM3 is good, but I think Caio Bahayo is up there, man. Like, this guy is really good. Yeah, he hasn't shown them yet, but I'm pretty sure he can sub this guy. And looking at this guy's tank, like John said, I mean, if it gets compromised, he's gonna get subbed. I'm almost certain. Like, Arman Petrosyan didn't get subbed because guy has a great gas tank, like keeps going and fighting. But this guy just had no fight in him in the second round against Gerald Mearshart. And if he has no fight in him on the ground, he's going to get subbed. Tim, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree. Petrosyan's a weasel, as you like to say. He gets out of those shitty positions a lot. It's greasy. Yeah, sub is the play, but let's get dirty though. Let's get a little bit dirtier here. Let's go sub round 2, 13-1. I think the first round could be like you're saying, it could be getting the takedown, works, maybe gets really close, runs out of time, and then second round actually hooks it up and gets the final choke. So yeah, I think sub is the play. I have a bet on sub plus 460 early in the week, and I'm going to take a small stab at the 13-1 on round 2.
All right, Kyle, sub 2 plus 1,300. All of us on the sub, one way or another. We will move on. Fight number 7, and this is where it starts getting really interesting. It's Belal Muhammad versus Sean Brady, and we will kick this one off to Brady. What do you have here?
Yeah, I know a lot of passionate takes on both sides. I think it's a close fight. I think it's the toughest fight on the card to call. The line does indicate that. It looks like it is the closest line fight on the card. Yeah, really, for me, there's only one way for me to play this. It's the split decision. I think this fight does go to decision more often than not. It looks like the fight goes decision, minus 320 on FanDuel, minus 250 on DraftKings. I really see it going either way. I think there's still some question marks about Sean Brady that's going to get answered here. But yeah, I see it going to decision. I see it being close and competitive. I'd be shocked if either guy dominated this fight. So give me the split decision. It actually got bet down. It was plus 400. It's now plus 380. So that is taking some action, and it makes sense. Give me the split plus 380 there.
All right, split plus 380, and I'm going to go with just one side on the split decision, and that's Sean Brady, plus 800. I mean, I have a bet on Brady by decision at plus 170. I do think, like, I don't think there's going to be a finish here, honestly. Like, both guys, pretty tough, pretty durable. One guy is not much of a finisher in Belal Muhammad. Brady does have finishing. I just don't think he gets it done here against Belal. Like he's too smart. He has a high fight IQ. He knows what he's doing on the ground. He's good when it comes to grappling. He's good when it comes to takedown defense. But I do think the stronger guy here is Sean Brady. I do think he lands takedowns on the feet. I favor a little bit Belal Muhammad, but not by a huge margin. So with that being said, I'm just going to go with split on one side here. I like the Sean Brady side. I do have a bet on it. So I'm going to give you the split on his side at plus 800. I don't know why his split seems to be higher than Belal. Belal is plus 700. He's plus 800. Kind of doesn't make sense because, I don't know, feels kind of weird.
Because he's the favorite. It should never be that way.
It shouldn't. That's what I'm saying. It should never be. He should not, because if you look at their decision props, right?
Yep.
Belal Muhammad's decision prop is higher than Sean Brady.
Yeah.
But yet the split decision is higher on Sean Brady. Doesn't make sense. Tim, what do you got?
I'm with you right there. Same plays, ends in split, and I think that Brady does win the split. The only thing that I would say that like from a way that the fight could end potentially is, dude, he's got one of the nastiest grips and choke series. Like when he does get like his arms in the right position, he's going to choke you out. Like you're not getting out of that position. So the people who took the line on sub from yesterday to today from plus 750 to plus 600, good for you, because plus 750 I thought was a pretty good line. I was about to bet it, but plus 600 is like, I think really good. It's just like lined right. So yeah, ends in split plus 380, 8-1 on Brady by split is really, really good. And if you want, I mean, you really could bet every one. I mean, like Belal could totally get it at 7-1. So, but I'm on the Brady side as well. I probably will have a money line bet on it as well.
Yeah, I mean that submission hit 1,000 on FanDuel and then got nuked down to 600. John, what do you got here?
Yeah, so I don't really like anything here, but I will say there's one play I'm seeing that I think is probably value, has almost no chance to hit. Let me be clear, from the money line perspective, I do like the Sean Brady side here, but I'm seeing Belal Muhammad round 3 plus 3,400. You know, I don't think that's that crazy. I think Brady is going to have some success grappling here as well. I think Belal is much more likely, though, to provide some resistance underneath, though, than Michael Chiesa provided. Like, I don't think Brady's just going to get on top and Belal, that's going to be around. You know, I think he's going to have to really work. And so, look, I think Belal is fairly harmless, but when you're death gassed and someone that puts out the output that he can, you know, anybody can finish late in a fight. I think Brady's gas tank's getting a bit overblown this week, but if he is going to pursue his best path to victory, which is a grappling-based path, then I think Belal 34-1 in round 3 doesn't make terribly much sense. So, I mean, that would be my lean there.
You know what's funny? You say that because when you look at Stephen Thompson, I think he might have been the closest guy to finish Stephen Thompson. Stephen Thompson's never been finished. And Belal, what?
Anthony
Pettis. Actually, Superman punch. Sorry. Against How could I forget? But outside of that, like, he's never been even close to being finished. And Belal almost finished him there, man. It was super close. Like, I mean, I know they let it go, but it could have been stopped, honestly. That's how much punishment he was dishing out. So I could see that. I honestly can. Moving on.
I actually don't. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I actually don't think, like, under or, like, doesn't go is, like, that crazy. I know the consensus is it goes. And I agree it goes more often than not. But, like, Belal's been hurt a bunch in the UFC. Obviously, you know, Brady has power on the feet and has the ability to finish on the mat. Plus, on the feet, these guys should be pretty high output. I don't know. That just seems a bit odd to me. It's like plus 225, I think, is the biggest number out there.
Yeah. I mean, it is a little high for that division in general.
170? Yeah.
Moving on. Fight number 8. It is Caitlin Chookagian versus Manon Fiorot. I think you can only go one way, honestly, here. Like, I mean, I guess you can go another way, but for me, it's Fiorot by KO. It's plus 420. I just think she has almost all the finishing equity. I know some people are saying Chookagian submission, and I don't know about that, man. This girl, she hasn't, I mean, has she even subbed anybody? Maybe one person in her whole professional career. And I do think Fiorot's going to have the strength advantage. I mean, Fiorot's faced better grapplers than this girl, in my opinion. So Chookagian, I don't know about her. She missed weight as well. Someone said she got to Abu Dhabi like 2 or 3 days ago. Like, that's pretty stupid. But either way, I'm going to take Fiorot KO plus 420. Maybe there's some jet lag. Maybe those legs are still jello, and she might get knocked out here. Tim, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, this is just a shitty Lambo kind of like fight. I don't really see many, but like if you're on the Chookagian side, I'm not. I think Manon wins this fight. But if you're on the Chookagian side, 10-1 by split. Like I've said it before, when like Joanne Wood fights and you get like 14-1 wins by split, it's like this is how she wins. So I don't hate anybody taking a shot on that. Like you said, I mean, Manon KO. I'll go with like the Manon by split or Chook by split at 5.5 to 1 or 10-1, and just say that maybe the fight's a little bit closer than people think, and it ends up going to split there. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, like you're saying, Manon gets the KO actually, and if things go maybe the way that you're saying, maybe even later would probably be the way that I would anticipate it happening. I don't think it would be just a bum rush in the first round. I think probably round 2, round 3. So I might take a look at that because I think that the odds there are pretty solid.
All right. The split decision prop. I mean, Chookagian either gets finished or she fights close no matter who the hell you are. She could be fighting anybody and she fights close. It's so funny. John, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more or less with. I guess like if you're trying to play violence here, you would play. I'm with you. You'd play the KO side for either. I think I'm with Tim though that like in terms of like props with big numbers that have value, I think the splits on both sides probably do. It is awkward because I can imagine many outcomes here where Manon wins a fairly one-sided decision, but at the same time, I think if Chook's competitive here, then it's likely going to be very, 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 very close. So, yeah, I mean, I think split decision on either side's fine. Chook KO could happen, but like I just don't feel like Manon does enough damaging work to the body to make it likely. So, yeah, give me the split as well.
All right, split for John as well. And Brady, what do you have here, my friend?
Yeah, nothing really. I mean, I think Manon wins by decision. And I think the split does make some sense because Chookagian does a really good job at, first of all, winning fights she clearly lost or just making fights super competitive. So maybe the fight does play out a lot more competitive than this line does indicate. So the split makes sense. But yeah, I'm kind of with you, Narco. I mean, if anything, it's that Fiorot KO plus 420. She hits very hard. Chookagian missing weight was weird. She never misses weight. So we'll see if, she's affected anyway. But, yeah, Manon KO plus 420. I think if there is a finish, it's more so on her side there.
All right. Manon KO plus 420. He's with me. So there's 2 KOs, 2 split decisions, and we will move on to fight number 9. This is one of my favorite fights on the card. A little bit of a bias, but it's Beneil Dariush versus Matthias Gamrot. Tim, what do you have here?
I'm not the split decision king for a reason. All right, I am. This is known. It is known. I mean, I think that this fight is a lot closer than people think. I think it's not going to be like a wash wrestling wise, where Gamrot's just going to fucking throw him all over the place and just ragdoll him. I think Beneil's a good, solid wrestler. I think that he's a very good striker. Gamrot's been dropped a lot. He can be hit. I think Beneil, usually when he loses, he gets finished. So I don't hate anybody on like, I have like a couple of like degenerate parlays where I put KO 2-3 and 2-3 finishes for Gamrot in those just to like take some long shots. So I don't hate anybody taking shots at that, but like I'm going to go with the split, ends in split at 450, and then I think Beneil wins the split at plus 1100. I just think he's going to have bigger shots, and I think if he can start off really, really well and win the beginning portions and get the bigger moments in the second round, I think he'll be able to last through the third. Not super confident in the read, obviously, but I think that this fight's really, really close.
All right. He is on the Dariush side by split and the fight by split. John.
Yeah, so like I think this entire fight comes down to pretty much like how long Benny can keep it at distance. I know there are people who like Gamrot's boxing. I personally, I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine. I don't think it's anything impressive though. And I mean, look, if you can't, Gamrot's very likely going to win a decision because I don't think Gamrot's very likely to submit Beneil. What I do like though, I really like the Dariush KO at plus 750. We saw Gamrot get wobbled multiple times by Arman. I'm not even sure how hard a hitter Arman is. I know he was looked like he was throwing heat, but we haven't really historically seen him wobble many guys. Gamrot obviously got hurt bad by Guram. And the truth is, Benny's both an underrated striker in terms of technique. You know, everybody remembers the Edson Barboza fight for the flying knee that put him unconscious. But prior to the flying knee, he was absolutely lighting him up for the better part of 8 minutes of that fight. But he has his own power as well. You know, he throws a lot of high amplitude stuff. He's pretty precise, and he's just a really strong guy. You know, if he can keep this at range, I honestly think he's going to tee off on Gamrot. Am I confident he's going to keep it there? No, which is why I haven't bet him. But I do think, you know, only 12% implied for a KO doesn't make any sense here at all. So I like the Benny KO. Plus 750 is what I'm seeing out there.
All right. John on the Benny side by KO. Brady, I have a feeling I know what side you're on.
Yeah, I like violence, maybe a contrarian take. But so I like the violence at the plus money. I think somebody's getting knocked out, and I think Beneil Dariush is the much better striker in terms of the minute winning ability, but I just don't really trust the durability. He's been finishing all 4 of his losses. I think 3 coming by knockout. I don't trust his chin. He's getting hurt a lot. I think somebody gets knocked out. I think it could be Dariush who gets a knockout, and that's plus 750. But I'm kind of more so on the Gamrot side, plus 420, but I do like violence in general more so than anything.
All right. Violence in general for Brady, a little bit on the Gamrot side. For me, I love Dariush. That's that's my favorite UFC fighter. We have like a little bit of a, you know, he's a Syrian, I'm a Syrian, so I have to cheer for my people. He's the only Assyrian guy in the UFC. So, but with that being said, man, like I can't look past his cardio problems. Like I always say it, like he honestly looks gassed like halfway through the second round in almost every single fight. It's crazy. Like, and him losing like round 3, you know, consistently to guys like, you know, Evan Dunham, who I believe 10-8'd him in round 3. You know, he lost the round 3 to Diego Ferreira in the last fight. Yeah, he ragdolled Tony Ferguson, but we know he does have cardio problems, and you know, in the fights that he hasn't really shown cardio problems, it's the fights that when, you know, he's controlled, like Tony Ferguson for 3 rounds on top, or Thiago Moises on top for 3 rounds, you know, stuff like that. But I just don't think he's going to be able to control Gamrot here on the ground. As far as striking is concerned, I love his kicking game. Like his kicks are nasty. I think that's what dropped Gamrot against Chookagian in that fight. So it was a kick that landed and dropped him. I do think that's live with Dariush. Like he has nasty kicks and knees up the middle, which he knocked down Diego Ferreira with. So I do think the line's a little wide. I wanted a little bit of a better number on Dariush to play his money line. It's sitting at, oh shit, this thing got nuked. I think I actually might play Dariush now. It's plus 185. That's pretty crazy, man. Minus 220 on
Big Gamrot steam this afternoon.
Yeah. So I might just even wait and play Dariush. It might still be going up. I might even get plus 200 I'm going to play it at that point. But I do like the round 3, it's plus 1,300. I know Gamrot has the better cardio. I'm pretty sure of that just off watching Dariush all my life. And I do think Gamrot can finish late. Like, he was coming on in the Chookagian fight in a very, very high-paced 5-round fight. So for me, it's going to be the Lambo play is going to be Gamrot round 3 plus 1,300. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope Dariush knocks his head off. So I do love the Dariush side, but as far as a prop's concerned, I do like that late round prop on Gamrot.
Yeah, the lines that are really solid, the KO 2-3 for Gamrot is plus 950. The KO 2 is plus 1,500 and 2,100 on KO 3 for Gamrot. Those are like really good lines.
Just don't take away the submission. Like, if Benny's really tired, like, that can happen as well. Like, just off of exhaustion,
Yeah.
You get subbed. Moving on, another banger. Petr Yan versus Sean O'Malley. And we will let John kick this one off. John, what do you have?
Beautiful. Yeah, it's the Sugar Show's time right now, to be honest. I am not an O'Malley fan by trade, to be honest. In fact, I've lost considerable amounts fading O'Malley over the years. But I do like him at the number in the spot on the money line. And I kind of think his chances of icing Yan are not being given enough credit here. The truth is, Sean O'Malley has 7 knockdowns in the UFC. He's got a bunch of KOs. He's got the best striking metrics in like the division's history, albeit against a poor level of competition. So certainly you'd expect a considerable amount of regression here in this kind of a step up. But with that being said, the truth is he has an extraordinarily high knockdown ratio. He's shown the ability to throw volume and minimize what's coming back at him. And Petr Yan, let's be honest, the guy can get hit. His general approach to defense, especially early in fights, is just kind of going full high guard. Like, he leaves himself there to get cracked early. I like O'Malley by KO of plus 500. I like O'Malley by round 1 KO of plus 1,400. I wouldn't be shocked if Yan runs through him here. It's a huge step up for O'Malley, but I do kind of think the market is underrating, O'Malley's level of skill, to be honest.
All right. It's the Sugar Show for John. What do you have here, Brady?
Yeah, I'm kind of going the opposite route. I'm going to go Yan inside the distance plus 320. This is a gigantic step up of competition. This might be a hot take, but Petr Yan is not Eddie Wineland. Petr Yan is not Jose Quinones, and he's definitely not Chris Moutinho. And we see that when O'Malley has taken like a step up against Marlon Vera, yeah, he got hurt, but he got finished in the first round against Pedro Munoz, which I thought that was a phenomenal matchup for him. I mean, the guy lost the first round on 2 of 3 judges' scorecards. I think Petr Yan has a ton of power, 10 knockdowns in 10 fights. And I think people are forgetting about the ground and pound. Like, if he's getting Sean O'Malley on the ground, if he gets on top, I think the TKO is super alive. And this inside the distance line on FanDuel, it's plus 320, which is by far the best price out there. It's plus 250 on DraftKings, plus 235 on BetOnline. I think Yan finishes O'Malley like second round, but the inside the distance really sticks out. I mean, the guy's a minus 300 favorite. I think he finishes Sean O'Malley here. So Petr Yan inside the distance plus 320. I also didn't mind. This is weird. So the KO is plus 320 as well. So you might as well take the inside the distance. Yeah, so inside the distance plus 320 on FanDuel for me.
All right. Brady, inside the distance plus 320 for Petr Yan. And, I thought I was going to play Yan, but man, I'm on a Sugar Shane show. Honestly, I do think bigger cage. He can, listen, people are laughing a lot about like why. The first thing you have to think about is why is Sugar Shane even in this spot? Why is he fighting the number 2 guy? Like, he hasn't really beat anybody. He went to, that last fight against Munoz, like, whatever, no decision, like, no contest, whatever you want to call it. But he's here for a reason, man. And the UFC love this guy. His striking is phenomenal. He's very long. It's going to give Yan problems. Like, the one thing John said, like, Yan likes to shell up a lot, even against a striker like Aljamain Sterling, that to me is not a very good striker. Like, he's shelling up a lot early in these fights. And I think Sugar Shane can tee off. I don't think he could stop Yan. I think Yan is extremely durable, but I do think he can win minutes here for sure. I think he has very good footwork. The one thing that I realized And I went back and watched the Munoz fight today because I know he lost round 1. But you know what he did really well? He started checking a bunch of those kicks from Munoz. So I like to see that because he worked on something that he was really bad at, and that was taking calf kicks. And he checked like a lot of those kicks from Munoz, which is a good sign because Yan, when he fights taller guys, I kind of mentioned this, he throws a lot more kicks. And he's fighting a taller guy here, and the tallest guy he's fought in O'Malley. And he's probably going to throw a lot of kicks, but it's a good sign that I see O'Malley checking him. People say Yan starts slow, but those are 5-round fights. He doesn't start as slow in 3-round fights. It's probably true, but like I do think Sean O'Malley can win minutes here, man. Like his footwork is so good. Like if Peter Yan doesn't proactively grapple and he decides, fuck it, I'm just gonna box with this guy and I'm a better boxer, I honestly think O'Malley can win a decision here. His decision prop is plus 500. I have some of that. Would I be surprised if Yan, like you guys said, ran through him? No, of course not. Like Yan is the upper echelon, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Sean O'Malley wins a decision here at plus 500. Tim, what do you have?
All right, I'll break the tie. I'm with Brady. I think that Yan gets him out of there.
You mean you'll create the tie?
I'll create the tie. I'm sorry, not You're now at a draw. I'm horrible at math. No, I think that, this is a huge step up, obviously. And I think if the kicks are going to be there and he does grapple, he could look way, way better than this line. Also, you're just getting him off of DQ and off of a loss to lose his belt. So motivation will definitely, he's definitely going to be into the fight. I'm not saying like he's never not motivated, but just loss of focus or just because of just stupid reasons. I just don't think it's there. So I think he's going to be super hungry, and I think he's going to get O'Malley out of there probably round 2, round 3. But yeah, I do have him parlayed with like Rosa. So I had like my little hedge is at 14-1 on O'Malley by split, because I think if he does win, it's really, really close. And I don't see a unanimous win for him in the decision. So.
All right. He is on the Peter Yan side. I don't blame you. One crazy stat with Peter Yan, 10 knockdowns in 10 UFC fights. It's pretty crazy. That's a lot. Moving on, we will move on to the co-main event of the night. It is Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. Brady, give us something good here.
Yeah, I don't really like anything really from a Lambo perspective. I am on the TJ Dillashaw side. My thinking is like, I think if he shows up and he looks anywhere near like his old self, like this is such a winnable matchup. Dillashaw, I love the cardio, the pace, the pressure. I think he's going to pressure Sterling early, and for Sterling to have success, I think he could have success from the feet early on, just throwing a ton of volume with that funky style of his, and maybe being competitive in the minutes. But the clear better striker is Dillashaw, especially as the fight goes on. And I just don't know if Sterling is going to be able to take down Dillashaw, which is very hard to do, and I just don't think he's going to be able to control Dillashaw, which is very hard to do. So unless like Dillashaw's washed, which I don't really think he is. He's only 36. I think he still has a little bit left in the tank. I think Dillashaw does win this fight, or at least make it very competitive. For a Lambo play, really the only thing sticking out is the Dillashaw decision. I think maybe the late rounds could potentially be live, but I'm kind of leaning more towards the decision route there, which is right on the mark for a Lambo play, plus 300. But I do like Dillashaw in general here.
All right, Brady on Dillashaw. And for me, I actually really like those late round props, man. Round 4, round 5, Dillashaw, 3,100, 3,700. He's got 3 wins past round 3. Aljamain Sterling, like, how could you like look away from how he looked in round 4 and round 5 in his last fight, how he looked in round 4 against Peter Yan in the fight before that? I know it's Peter Yan, but like Dillashaw has a similar pressure style. He has a similar pace. Like he throws a lot. He's constantly coming forward. And if you look historically at TJ Dillashaw, his best rounds in 5-round fights have always been round 4 and 5. He fucking comes on in every single one of those fights, round 4, round 5. And those are the 2 rounds that Aljamain Sterling is not good at. He slows down a shit ton. And to have a backpack and have this guy for 10 minutes almost in the last fight and still gas out as bad as he was in round 4 and 5, to me is a terrible look. I don't understand how these books have. How are the odds on Aljamain Sterling shorter for round 4, round 5? Like, he has more finishing ability in round 4 and 5? No fucking way. So give me TJ Dillashaw, round 4, round 5, and I might actually play the money line if it starts creeping up a little. Tim, what do you have?
I'm with you, Narco. I actually made bets on 4 and 5 already, and I also made a bet on round 3 just because maybe the end of round 3 it starts to happen as well. I do lean 4 and 5 more though, but 37-1, 31-1 are just insane lines. I'm not going to just reiterate everything you said. I really do think that TJ's kind of the pressure style. This could be a lot of frustrated attempts at trying to get him down that he is not able to, and just gassing himself out even more. I don't think TJ's that hard, or he's not that easy to get down. So yeah, I think actually TJ might be able to get him down and reverse that on him. So yeah, that to me, I think that if the fight could go, I think it's like I kind of lean that the fight goes more than it doesn't, but these numbers are just way off. I think the numbers are just really great to take a shot in the late round props for him.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I mean, fighting on one leg on a torn fucking whatever he had, torn PCL, torn meniscus against one of the best fighters, in Corey Sandhagen for four damn rounds showed me a lot. Like, yeah, he's 36, 35 years old, whatever he was then. But the dude fought on one fucking leg in a very, very competitive fight.
And struck really well with it. I mean, struck.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if he has both legs. Like, it's not easy to fight with a torn meniscus and torn PCL. After round 1, when he torqued that heel hook and he basically popped his knee. So yeah, I mean, I'm not really concerned about the age, to be honest. These guys are on all the sauce. I think both guys are on the sauce. I think they're going to be fine when it comes to like age. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Like, I know people have concerns with the injury. I don't know. It's a meniscus. It's not an ACL. It's not an MCL. I think it's just meniscus and PCL. But with that being said, before we move on to the grand finale and the main event, I would like to thank 73 of you in chat. Oh, I'm sorry, John. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I know you guys don't want me to tell you about how Sterling's going to wreck Dillashaw, but I do think that's what's going to happen. To be honest, I actually think the line here is about right. I shouldn't say wreck. That's a strong use. I'm just kind of living in the moment. I would have played some earlier numbers. I guess I'm with Brady, though. I don't really love a ton of props, but I don't know. I kind of think TJ is maybe not visibly declining. Like, look, the Sandhagen performance, especially with the injury, was impressive. But the reality is he's a year older as a 135-pounder, fighting a guy who's at his absolute peak. And I think some stock's being put in the Jan fight that perhaps shouldn't be. You have a guy in Sterling whose distance striking metrics are like historically great, and who outlanded Jan. I shouldn't say outstruck. That would be unkind. Outlanded Jan at distance in the first fight, and was basically even with him in the second fight. I think this fight's going to mimic the second Dillashaw Cruz fight a bit, except I kind of think Sterling is a much better version of that version of Cruz. I do think Sterling can get takedowns here, probably not easily, but a couple. And I think back takes might be available. If I was going to make a Lambo play, and again, I don't really love anything, but I think Sterling ITD plus 300, plus 350 is where I'd look personally.
All right. We knew John was going to be on the Sterling side. ITD. I mean, Sterling's a great fighter. I think he needs to get it done early, though, man. If he doesn't get it early, I think those late rounds are going to be an issue for him.
I just personally don't think Dillashaw has like Jan's a fucking Terminator, man. Like that, like it is. I agree with you that the fight style is somewhat similar, but like I just don't think he brings the same level of violence in his pressure that Jan brings with him, you know?
But Jan, but in that second fight, Jan was backpacked for 8-9 minutes. So he didn't really bring any pressure. He didn't really bring anything. Yet Aljamain Sterling was falling apart in that fourth round. I don't know if you remember the portion of that fight in the fourth round where he was just shelling up against the ropes, but Jan had no fucking cardio. He was dead tired himself. So he really couldn't do much. I just feel like Dillashaw, I don't want to say has better cardio than Jan, but he's shown tremendous cardio, in almost all his fights. So
yeah, I mean, he's been 5 before many times. So
yeah. And he has a 4th round finish and 2 5th round finishes. So his finishing ability late is still there. But before we move on to the main event, like I said, 77 of you in here. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please do me a favor, hit the like, hit subscribe. I have the links to John underneath, to Brady underneath. So go to their channel, subscribe to their channels. They have some great shows. Club and Sub Podcast. Brady does a lot of stuff on YouTube. So they have spectacular content. Go over there and hit that subscribe and like some of those videos. So now we will move on to the grand finale of UFC 280. It is the main event. It is Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev, and I will kick this one off. Man, I'm I have a lot of units on Islam, but it's you know how, John, you were saying you had 4 units and you were shitting your pants? Well, I have 5 units and I'm shitting my pants, and I have minus 165 on Islam Makhachev, which is a good number now because he's up to 203 on Bet Online, and I'm a little scared, but how I envision the fight, I just Charles Oliveira takedown defense is not very good. He gets taken down. Makhachev has great control, is very smart on the ground. His top pressure is really good. Oliveira is honestly has shown real well of late, and he's fought really good competition. Don't get me wrong. He's really nasty in the clinch, where Islam Makhachev better be hugging him when he's in the clinch. He better not give him opportunity to land those knees, because those knees are devastating, and we saw them. But I do feel like even though Charles pushes through, I do feel like he tires as the fight goes on. I do think Makhachev will be fresher if this fight goes later. So with that being said, Makhachev submission round 4 plus 2,800, submission round 5 plus 4,000. As Charles Oliveira tires, he gets subbed. He got subbed against Anthony Pettis. He got subbed against Ricardo Lamos. So yes, he's a great submission grappler, but when you're tired and someone's suffocating you, you might just give up your neck and get choked out. And I have a feeling this might happen late in this fight. So give me those late round props on Makhachev submission, 2,800 and 4,000 in round 5. Tim, what do you have?
All right, I'm biased as hell. Do Bronx is my favorite fighter, so I'm just letting everybody know ahead of time. This is not coming from a place of anything other than bias. He's dangerous as hell. I think that his path to winning is KO 1 through 3. So I will take a shot at my guy, because if he watches this podcast, I can never have him seeing me say that I would think that he lost. So yeah, I'm gonna do KO 1, 2, 3 for Do Bronx at plus 700. But I also will be playing late round props. I won't say on who, but just whatever.
Hey, Mr. Charles Oliveira, can you please go to sleep? You're fighting in about 18 hours. Please go to sleep. You need the rest.
The rest isn't going to save him, Narco.
What do you have?
I love Islam here, to be honest. I could write an essay about why I think he's massively the side. But, I mean, look, the reality is like go through let me be clear. I am not an Islam fan. I think he is boring. I cannot stand his fights. I cannot stand him and that entire crew. And I love Charles. But, go through Charles's fights on this run and like the two fights that were least favorable to him were the Kevin Lee fight where he got controlled on the ground for 2 rounds of that fight before Lee gassed out and got guillotined, and the Michael Chandler fight where he got hurt and also got controlled on the ground for a bit. The guy can't defend takedowns. Mokayev is the best wrestler in the division by a decent margin. And the thing that separates guys like him and Habib from the rest of like the Dagestani wrestlers is they're the two guys who've actually blended jiu-jitsu into their game at a high level of jiu-jitsu. They're not just I'm going to take you down, and if you give your back, I'll just wrestle ride you. They'll put hooks in, they'll flatten you out. As you guys both touched on, we've seen Charles subbed in the past. I'm very, very confident that if Charles doesn't nuke him early, Islam is going to get on top and just work him over there, to be honest. Like, could he get swept? Sure. I don't think it's as big a concern as people are making it out to be personally, though. I love Islam here. I have 5 units on him as well. But in terms of props, I actually think my view is a bit different. I kind of like Islam early here. I would personally say I would split, bets across 1, 2, and 3, which I'm seeing plus 475 round 1. I see a plus 600 out there round 2 and plus 950 or plus 1100 on FanDuel in round 3. I kind of just think once Islam gets him down, he's going to get to dominant positions here. We saw Kevin Lee float on top. Islam's much better on top than Lee is, and he provides a lot less space than Lee does. So, yeah, I think he's eventually going to get to dominant positions here, and I think he's eventually going to finish him on the mat. Could be a submission, but it also wouldn't shock me if it was something like the Bobby Green fight either, to be honest.
All right. So you convinced me. I'm playing submission round 3 now as well. Brady, what do you got here?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm kind of in between the middle of Narco and John. Like, I think it's more so in the middle. Like, Narco thinks it's late. John thinks it's early. I'm thinking like round 3, round 4. I'm not going to knockout. I could see a TKO. I'm not going sub. I could definitely see the sub. Give me a Islam to win in rounds 3 or rounds 4 at plus 700. But I could see it a little bit earlier, maybe late second round. But I'm kind of leading that third. And if it's not the third, it's going to be the fourth. So I like that 3-4 plus 700 there.
All right. Brady on Mokayev as well. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm scared shitless.
By the way, let me be clear for Antonio in the chat. I'm not comparing Bobby Green to Charles. I'm just saying if Islam got to back him out and pounded him out, I would not be shocked.
Yeah, he's not comparing. He kind of mentioned he wouldn't be shocked if he gets his back and pounds him out. But, yeah, man, I mean, Charles Oliveira is a scary dude. I love him, to be honest. I love the guy. I've bet a lot on him, won a lot of money of late. But sometimes, like they say, you got to hop off the train. And I think this is the time you got to hop off the train. And Clint is in the house. What is up, Clint? Thank you for popping in, my brother. I appreciate it. And with that,
it's round 3. I'm with Brady. I think it's round 3. I think it's round 3. Like, I think it's like if Charles doesn't get him out in rounds 1 or 2, and he's done enough, it might be like you're saying, it might be the end of round 2 to 3. I keep feeling like Charles has 2 rounds to kill him. If he doesn't, he's gonna die.
I will lose a lot of money if Charles wins tomorrow, but it would be absolutely epic if he found a way to pull it out. I will say that. But yeah, I just think, you guys tell me if you disagree. I'm just not really convinced that the glaring cardio issues that were present throughout 30 fights of Oliveira's are gone. He just happened to get matched up recently with guys who were largely very good matchups for him, or if they weren't great matchups, also have horrendous cardio. That's kind of my take.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a very interesting fight. I wouldn't be shocked if Charles nuked him, because Charles' powers look he's looked super dangerous as of late. So I wouldn't be shocked. The other thing is, like, Mokayev hasn't really faced much adversity. He got knocked out, but that's not what happens with adversity? How does he react to adversity? And I think we know how Charles fights with adversity. He goes crazier, but we just don't know how Mokayev fights with adversity. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's 12 of them. UFC 280, but there's one thing left. Mushroom won't let us go. We have to give him our Lambo parlays. And I will kick this one off because I already have mine. And mine is the Kayo submission, the Krylov KO, and the Brady decision. That will give you 75-1. You can have that on FanDuel. Tim, do you have one?
Yeah, I do. I got Carol Hosa by KO, Kayo sub, and Mokayev by KO, and it was 83-1.
83-1. Did you hear that? A Mushroom. John, do you need some more time? I know you're cooking it up there.
No. I got it right here.
All right.
I have.
Let's go.
All right. I mean, it's not. Well, Islam by sub, Dariush by KO, and Kayo by sub. It's plus 11,000.
Jesus Christ. So you're 110-1 for Mr. John. He's not going easy. He's just going out with a bang.
Let
Brady,
me fly.
What do you got here, Brady? Can you match 110-1?
No, looks like I have the worst odds out of all four of us. I'm taking it kind of easy here. I'm going to take Mokayev round 1 KO plus 480, parlayed with Krylov round 1 KO plus 850, 54-1.
Nice.
I actually really like that.
I like
Brady's might hit. Brady's might actually hit.
Krylov KO1. What's Mokayev round 1? Is it? Yeah, it's too short. So what's KO1, Brady, for
480?
Oh, okay. So that's what's giving it meat on the bone. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Mushroom, you got your Lambo parlays. Thank you to everybody in chat. I appreciate each and every one of you. Still 80 of you in here. Thank you very, very much. It's been an hour and 16 minutes. With that being said, I want to thank both of my guests. Thank you very much for being here this late. And we got an early card tomorrow. But I will kick it off to Brady. Tell them where they can find you and what you have going on.
Yep, thanks for having me on, Narco. As always, again, congrats on the 1,000 subs. That is awesome. You guys can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers, YouTube, DFS by the numbers. And yeah, got to get up pretty early. Might try to sleep in a little bit, miss that Carol Hosa fight, but I'll be up and ready for the Mokayev fight.
Damn, you cannot miss Carol Hosa.
I can miss it.
Pounding out Lena Lansberg at 40 years old. But yeah, guys, go follow Brady. Go to his YouTube channel. Subscribe. Great guy. Great content. Ton of content. John, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at MMA Fox right there. Anybody who wants to chat fights anytime, ask about bets, tell me how stupid I am or how you're fading my bets, feel free to hit me up anytime you want. I love chatting fights. I do a show every Wednesday night. Now it's 7 p.m. Eastern time called the Club and Sub Podcast. You can find it in the YouTube channel, the Club and Sub Podcast. Again, every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, guys. Check it out.
Awesome, John. Great guy. Great follow. Go to his YouTube channel, Club and Sub Podcast. Great group over there. I enjoy watching that show all the time. Tim, where can they find you and what do you have going on, Tim?
Just did spaces with Sean Orr again today on Twitter. And then I just love This is my favorite show. Always. I love you guys. Thanks for coming on. You guys are legends. You guys got me into this majorly, so I really appreciate you all three of you guys greatly. So it's been tremendously fun. I can't wait for this card tomorrow.
Yeah,
all right, Tim. Go give him a follow on Twitter. He does spaces with Sean Orr every week. And for me, you can find me at Narcocop on Twitter. You can send me anytime. You can send me messages, talk fights. I love it. Tomorrow morning, bright and early, live spaces with none other than Martian UFO. So we're going to be doing the live spaces early. I'm going to have to set my alarm because I'm in the damn West Coast. So it's 7:30 for me, guys.
Dude, that is elite, though.
7:30 a.m. It's brutal. What do you mean elite?
Dude, you got two kids. You're going to be up anyway.
Narco's got the egg.
You are right about
the eggs. Like, let's get this going.
I want to make some breakfast, John. I can't even
mimosas.
Yeah.
He's going to be like making butter. He's making some pancakes. Sweet.
Awesome show. Thank you very, very much to each and every one of you. And let's cash some tickets tomorrow.